You are listening to the Postcast, presented by the Locked On Senators podcast and, of course, the Glebe Central Pub. Make sure to check out the Glebe Central Pub at 779 Bank Street. Get your tickets for the Senator Shuttle, just $17 round trip. March 1st, we will be boots on the ground. We'll see you on the bus at the GCP. I'm Ross Levitan, alongside my very good friend Jack Richardson, covering a fifth straight win for the Ottawa Senators. 5-2 the final score. Senators were leading 2-1 going into the third period. Nashville ties it on an early power play, and then the Sens explode for not one, not two, but 3 goals and win this one 5-2. Jack, how you feeling, buddy?
5 straight wins, Ross. It doesn't get much better than this, other than a 6th straight one tomorrow night. We'll get ahead to that one later, but what a night for the Sens. They had to get this one. I had this circled as a trap game. I don't know about everyone else, but just everything was rolling. It was kind of the one on the calendar you looked at and said, you know what, they don't need this one necessarily, but everyone around them keeps winning, but so do the Ottawa Senators. Just an impressive win that third period, especially, you know, they come into it up 1, go down, or they get the game tied up right away on that power play. Marchessault scores, and then the response from the Sens, impressive. Time and time again, they show us that they're a more mature defensive team. Really, really good game from the Sens tonight.
So the Senators came into this game winners of 4 in a row. The Nashville Predators lost 4 in a row. But to your point, the odds makers also thought this was a trap game. They had the Senators as an underdog going in to tonight's game. And Jack, you mentioned it in the group chat earlier. Now the Senators are 5-3 in their last 8 games as underdogs.
Yeah, I like kind of looking at that. I think when you see the odds makers, you know, only game in the league tonight, so you get a bit more attention that way. It's a national game in Canada, at least on the Prime broadcast. So yeah, you get a little bit more eyes. And I guess people thought the Nashville Predators were gonna bust their slump tonight, but that's not the case. Both streaks extend, and I mean, yeah, what is it? 5-3, I said, in their last 8 now as underdogs. Pretty good when that's the case. And the fact that I had to go back pretty far for that, Ross, I think they've been the favorite in quite a few games this season so far, at least lately, especially, and for good reason. The Senators are the Ottawa Senators are a legit team. I think we can say that now. I know that that's been established with the streak they've been on and the play of late, even when they're not on this winning streak, just finding points, finding ways to win, a couple lulls in the schedule, but they've been a very good hockey team for a few months now.
Complete team effort in this game from top to bottom. Goaltending to Anton Forsberg, I thought was extremely solid. He made a breakaway save in this game, had another breakaway where I think Nashville fans will be looking for a penalty call. I hated the reffing in this game both ways. I thought Ottawa should have had the first goal of the game early. We'll get into that more, but just in general, like back and forth, there was a double minor to Zachary Leroux he didn't deserve, and then he only gets 2 minutes for a slew foot that I thought could have been a major. That was as greasy as it gets, completely away from the play, and fans who are from Atlantic Canada know Zachary Leroux is a greasy hockey player. Doesn't play on the line, plays over it, so I thought that kind of went out in the wash because he deserved, I think, an extra 2 for the second one, but not the first. I don't think either of them deserved it for the first, but whatever. If you're going to take both guys out of a scrum, have at it. Wes McCauley loved that this was the only game tonight. He loves when all eyes are on him. The guy thinks that people pay tickets to watch him play, but he did have a pretty good view of that power about that breakaway where he emphatically did not call a penalty. What was your thoughts on that? Because it's a complete momentum shifter, because then it's 3-2. That breakaway happens. No call. Senators go the other way. And David Perron scores his first goal as a Senator, just the way he drew it up off the defenseman's helmet and in.
Yeah, that was a lot happened on that play. I love it when you're, especially the road team as the Sens are, and the crowd goes nuts with a no call or a missed call. And look, I in real time, I thought that was a trip. I thought that the Sens got lucky there, but obviously, when you watch it slow motion, you can see he kind of toe picks. I don't think Wes McCauley is looking at that and in real time and noticing that Sanderson didn't trip him up because his stick gets in the leg. So, look, I don't want to say the Sens got lucky on that call, but McCauley decided to put the whistle away. He was looking right at it, and sometimes that's the way it goes. But you want to talk about refereeing, obviously, earlier in this game, I thought this was going to be the story. That was what I thought should have been a goal by Drake Batherson on the power play in the first period. The reason we were hinging on that so much is when the Sens don't score first, Ross, they are not as good as when they score first. I don't have the record in front of me, but it is a drastic difference. But they helped that record out a little bit tonight because Nashville got on the board first.
It is a drastic difference. I'm going to actually search this up for tomorrow's Locked On Senator, so stick with me for that. It's just too much to do right now. They're 6-17-4 going into tonight's game when allowing the first goal. But I want to say at one point they were like 1-10-1 or something. Like, it's improved a lot over the last stretch.
I was just going to say, if you do that since the new year, basically, I bet you that stat's a lot friendlier. And quite honestly, I don't know if it's one of those stats where every team in the league is that good or something like that. I just know that when the Sens do score first, they're the best team in the NHL. So when they don't score first, you're already kind of behind the 8 ball, but that's what makes this game so impressive to me. Just finding a way to win. They did it against the Leafs to start this winning streak. They do it again tonight.
Let me just update this here. The Senators are 23-3-0 when scoring first, the best record in the National Hockey League. That's ridiculous. 26 games that they've scored first now out of 52, and they have won 23 of those 26 games. The scoring in tonight's game started officially with Philip Forsberg, a beautiful move, tic-tac-toe play. You got to give credit where it's due. Sure, does the late man on the back check, Claude Giroux, not make it to the net in time? Sure, but that's a beautiful passing play, and Philip Forsberg made no mistake opening up Forsberg's 5-hole and slipping it through. But it wasn't long. Just 6 minutes later, Adam Gaudette gets his 16th goal of the year, which, by the way, ties Mitch Marner in goal scoring for, $11 million less. Tim Stützle and David Perron get the assist, and I want to highlight Perron's outlet pass to Tim Stützle. That was a great play, and then Stützle using his speed to the outside. If you remember the first game, road game of the season in Montreal, sure, it didn't count. They lost 4-1. Like, it didn't count in a high leverage situation, but it was the same type of play where Stützle has such elite speed on the outside that he just opens things up. The Predators defenseman couldn't keep up with him, and then Adam Gaudette did his best Tim Stützle impression, baseball bat swinging that one out of midair.
Yeah, the Sens lately, and especially tonight, had a few goals where you point to that expected goal stat that everyone was kind of pointing at during those shutout games, right? Where they were due for a couple bounces like this. Perron's goal, which we'll get to, was definitely the biggest one. But even Gaudette's, like, you just go to the net and it just kind of hits him, right? And goes in, finds a way. But Timmy driving the net, I tweeted it out that right before that, the power plays before, he was fighting the puck a lot. Like, things were dying on his stick. I thought, oh boy, here we go. This is one of those nights with Stützle where he's just not able to find it. And shout out the Prime broadcast, because they had a lot of angles on the Sens bench. I found that in both of their games, we've had a lot more visuals on the bench, specifically during the coach's challenge. We got to see basically the entire time just running on it. But they also mentioned that before that goal, that Travis Green had a moment where he came over to Tim Stützle and said some words to him. And I'd imagine that happens every single game. We just don't know or hear about it. So you know that Green said something to him. They mix up the lines a little bit, and Timmy takes it to the net, and good things happen. And I thought from that moment on, he was a stud, battling with Philip Forsberg, not taking anything. He is a tough customer, Tim Stützle is. Meanwhile, also after the second period, the NHL announcing a lengthy suspension for a play he was involved in, which I don't know, we don't have to get into it. You guys touched on it a lot in the postcast on Saturday, but Tim Stützle is a tough customer. And I think the Predators they play hard. The Predators play hard. They got a little frustrated towards the end. And I think Stützle he's a gamer, man. He's such a gamer.
Tim Stützle recorded his 300th career NHL point on that play. He's the 13th player in Senators history to hit 300 points. Like, think about that. He just turned 23 years old, and he's 13th in franchise history in points, courtesy of NHL's stats department, which is a big rival of Locked On Senators, the LOSP stats department, but we'll give credit here. In 338 games, Tim Stützle becomes the third fastest Senator to reach 300 points, behind Jason Spezza and Alexei Yashin. Now, Stützle did it in 6 more games than Yashin, and 55 games more. I'm not a math guy. Someone will have to let me know what that is. Like 60 games more than Jason Spezza, who was an absolute beast in 300 points in 277 games for Jason Spezza. That's ridiculous. But Tim Stützle does it, and this guy continues to impress, man. He was fighting the puck a little bit, but he's the definition of having a B game, right? Like he wasn't having the handles tonight, but no worries. He's going to get engaged physically. That whole play where Zachary Leroux does the slew foot on Ridley Gregg, that whole sequence started with Tim Stützle and Philip Forsberg going back and forth, nobody backing down. And Forsberg had a bee in his bonnet all night. Like, he was going at it, took that bad slashing penalty at the end of the first period where he was upset that Brady Tkachuk's stronger than him. And all of a sudden he goes, well, I'm just going to take it out on the next guy to go to the net. A slashing penalty in that position with 2 seconds left in the period is just as undisciplined as it gets. So credit to Shane Pinto for battling through and taking the brunt of that one. And credit for Tim Stützle for being a difficult player to play against. The Amazon broadcast that we will continue to reference, because I continue to say they do an amazing job with hockey. Shout out to Jody Shelley, a color commentator tonight, who joined us on LOSP earlier today. And where I'm going with that is they kept referencing Tim Stützle's determination, and it was nice to hear an outside perspective. I know they do their homework and everything, but guys who don't watch the Senators every single night, like you, me, and the 725 people in the chat, to notice that Tim Stützle is a hard hockey player. He's not this stupid, what do you call it, where you make something out of a guy?
A narrative.
They put him in a box that he's this soft. No, he plays hard, and it's great that he's getting the credit that he deserves.
Yeah, and it is refreshing feeling like he's getting that respect around the league. And I think, honestly, like when he was going through a bit of a drought there with no points too, people probably took for granted his defensive play. Like he's really taken a step. And I think Travis Green's talked about it a lot, how they wouldn't be able to do this without the big guys driving the bus, right? You need to lead by example. You're playing that many minutes. It was time for them to kind of look themselves in the mirror and be like, listen, we need to wake up here defensively. I think Tkachuk is a great example of that too. The big boys needed to buy in defensively. And Tim Stützle has been outstanding on the other side of the puck. He's using his legs. And like you said, Ross, he's hard to play against. I couldn't agree more with you saying the broadcast giving him his flowers for how tough he is was a good moment tonight, I think, too.
This is a wild stat. So that is the Senators' first goal of the game. And they did pull this one up on Amazon as well. But the Ottawa Senators, when scoring at least one at least one goal in a game are 9-0 on that run, and they're 0-3-1 when they don't score. They even have a point in the game that they didn't score a goal. Like that is ridiculous.
The defense has been so good, man. The defense has been so good, and we'll give some love to the blue line when we get into our Sen Central standouts, I'm sure. But the transformation that's had in one season, even though it's not that many new guys back there, is outstanding. Nick Jensen wasn't playing tonight. He hasn't played in a few games, and they still look outstanding. So just so fun to watch, man. The winning hockey in Ottawa, Ross.
Score a goal, win the game. We got lots more to get to. Sens fans in Van appreciate you. They're saying it's the first time in years that they just knew that they'd win after going down a goal. Welcome to the new age. It's a new dawn. It's a new day. It's a new life for us, Ottawa Senators fans. Great to see Senators win tonight. 5-2, the final score. The shots on goal in this one favored the Senators 39-27. Senators had 22 shots in the second period. It's the most in a period that the Nashville Predators have given up all season. Senators go 1 for 5 on the power play. Nashville goes 1 for 2. Did we edit the power play one? Yeah, they did. 1 for 2. Nashville goes on the power play. Senators win 53% of the faceoffs. Ottawa with 11 blocks to Nashville's 8. Nashville with 31 hits to Ottawa's 20. But I'll tell you why. They didn't have the puck nearly as much. The expected goals at 5-on-5, 71% in favor of the Ottawa Senators. Just a dominant performance despite the fact that it was tied in the third period. So you like the way they played overall, and you love the way they were able to battle back from down 1 and when they tied it up early in the third period. So great performance. Plenty more to get into, breaking down all the goals, Sen Central standouts. And on the other side, we've got a boots on the ground report. Nate DeOrdio, who joined us after the win, the shutout win in Carolina, he's going to be back. Get this guy season tickets on the road, 2-0 when he's boots on the ground away from the CTC. So that's next, but please allow me to tell you about the Glebe Central Pub, because the Postcast is always brought to you by the Glebe Central Pub. It's the official pub of the Ottawa Senators' best podcast, the best, and the one you get every single day, 5 days a week. It's Locked On Senators. So support us by supporting our great friends over at the Glebe Central Pub. Did you notice tonight, Jack, the shots of the Glebe Central Pub on the Prime broadcast?
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. I don't know if this is the only Prime broadcast left on the season.
One more. March 10th against Detroit.
So keep an eye out for the Glebe Central Pub in that one too, because I love that promo shot. It's great. It's the best place to be to watch a game or to head to a game when they're back at the CTC, Ross.
And why not do both? Because if you go to the GCP and hang out before you take the shuttle, when you go on a Sens game day, it's 10% off your order. So you basically, if you make that more than $17, just think of it as the bus being included in your visit to the Glebe Central Pub. The bus leaves the pub an hour and 15 minutes before the game, and they bring you right back to the pub afterwards. It leaves 15 minutes after the Ottawa Senators end their game at the Canadian Tire Center. The next bus is going for the game against the Montreal Canadiens on February 27th. So Saturday, February 22nd. So head to where the vibes are free. That is the GCP. We will see you there on March 1st. Get your tickets at GlebeCentralPub.com. Today's episode is also brought to you by FanDuel. It's America's #1 sports book. The Super Bowl is here, and the Super Bowl means that you need to get in on the action. Whether it's predicting the first touchdown, calling the MVP, or even betting on the coin toss, FanDuel makes it easy to get in on the action. With live betting all game long, you can adjust your bets as the game unfolds and feel the thrill from kickoff to the final whistle. Download the app and head to FanDuel.com to get started. Bet just $5, and if you win, you'll score $200 in bonus bets over at FanDuel.com. Bet with FanDuel. It's an official sports betting partner of Super Bowl 59. All right, welcome back to the Postcast. I'm Ross Levitan. That is Jack Richardson, and we are vibing after a 5-2 Sens win on the road in Nashville, meaning that the Senators are now at 62 points on the season. So we're talking about how big these games are in Tampa. They're huge. There's no question. If the Senators get 0 points, they'll still be tied with Tampa. That's how important these 5 straight wins heading into this matchup is. You go down there and steal one of the next 2 games, and you're in a really good spot.
I don't like to look forward too much, especially when we got a Vibecast after 5 straight wins tonight. If they win tomorrow, Ross, with Ullmark returning, I'm going to be a problem. The Sens will be all the way back. They already are. This is the spot we wanted them to be in. I think even when you looked at those games at the beginning of the year, the back-to-back against Tampa really stands out, right? You look at the schedule, look before the Four Nations, 2 games in one city, not even back-to-back, like just a bit of an anomaly when it comes to the schedule. But the way they've rolled into it, and even the way this year, and I keep saying year, but the way January started after that win streak with Ullmark going down, the fact that they're not just keeping pace with the group, they're pacing the group in the wild card race. They are ahead of it. They've been ahead of it for weeks. So that's what's exciting. I know it's been tough watching the Red Wings get hot, watching the Islanders stay hot, the Rangers get JT Miller and look hot. Tampa and Boston still always lurking, but the Sens have been pacing that group for weeks, and that's impressive.
They're hot. We're scorching. 5 straight wins for the Ottawa Senators. By the way, our good friend, I hope he's in the chat, Senator, he posted a close-up replay of the breakaway non-call. And if they called a trip, they would have had to call an embellishment because Sanderson's stick does not go below the shin pads the entire time. He gets a little bit on his knee, but you're allowed to push a guy. You're allowed to make contact. And I just love the fact that it was a non-call because it would have been easy to make the call in the building where our good friend Nate DeOrdio was. Nate, we're talking about the vibe in the building after that non-call on the breakaway. Take me to that moment. What did you see?
Yeah, so honestly, looking from my perspective, I was sitting in front of the Sens offensive zone. So that was on the end of the ice for me. I was in the 100 section. And it looked like he kind of just shoved him off the puck. I didn't see an actual trip. People around me were very upset, but at the immediate goal afterwards, I kind of tried to get him going. I was waving him on, trying to get a little, see if anybody would keep booing with me. But it definitely got a little hostile after that. But once the goalie was pulled, the stand started clearing out pretty fast.
Oh, man, you got to hit him with a beat the traffic. One of those, man.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Nate, how was the crowd in there tonight?
They were. I'm not gonna lie. It was good. They were pretty rowdy for a Monday night. I think there was a lot of Sens fans compared to the last couple of games I had been to in Nashville. I from Gatineau. I think it was Adam Gaudet's agent was sitting right behind me. So there was a lot of Sens fans there, and but the Preds fans they were trying to get loud for the Amazon Prime. That was their first national game for the year. So
what was the vibe in the building when Nashville scores first? Obviously, Sens have that goal disallowed in the first period, and you were right there too. Like, what did you see on that play?
Yeah, I mean, I could definitely see a little bit of a breakdown. I saw they kind of got it was almost I think it was a 3-on-2, and then they got that pass in, and he was in alone, and it didn't look too good after that. But I don't know. It didn't seem like the Sens were ever out of it because, even though the Preds got that goal after the disallowed Batherson goal, it just seemed like Ottawa was still outplaying them so I wasn't too worried. And then Forsberg had that big, I think it was a breakaway save while they were down 1-0, and then after that they kind of turned it on. So it felt pretty good after that.
So Nate, you were also at the Carolina game, the shutout earlier this season, and I'd kind of point at that one and say that's part of when the season started to turn around for the Sens. So do you see more of the same tonight? A little bit of a difference in maturity for the Sens? Like, I'd imagine the Carolina one was a bit more surprising, maybe. What'd you think?
Yeah, definitely. I would say that game was still, I feel like I wasn't sure where they were going to be. You know, they were kind of up and down in November, and then December was a little bit of a better month. They started to go on that streak with Ullmark, but it seemed like they have their game set now and expect them to win games like tonight. Whereas, Carolina, we were a little surprised to see them go in and win 3-0 against a good team. But tonight it just felt like they were supposed to win. Even when they were down, it felt like they were going to win. It definitely is there's an expectation now after the kind of season that they've put on.
Love that. Nate, final question for me, brother. Who's your Sen Central standout from tonight's game?
That's tough. I'd have to say I did notice you guys had kind of gave the shout out to Adam Gaudette on players you were looking to watch earlier, and then he ended up getting the goal. And then I think I met his agents behind me, so I was like, we're going to give it to Adam Gaudette to get back in the scoring column. He started off the year hot, and then you guys called him out and wanted him to get hot again, and he got a starter, so I'll go Adam Gaudette.
All right, the hockey god scoring in the Bible Belt. It's almost got a little je ne sais quoi to it. We love to see that, and we love to see your passion, Nate. Love seeing you get 2 big wins on the road. Thanks for joining us, man. Give us a Go Sens Go.
Hey, Go Sens Go, and I just want to say, hey, it was pretty cool. There was 1 or 2 boo birds during the Canadian anthem, and the fans started joining in and singing "Oh Canada" from down in the States, so it was pretty cool to see them all get together.
Love that. That's a great boots on the ground. We wouldn't have heard that on TV. So love that. Drive safe, brother. I see you're the passenger. Love that. And hey, we'll do this again in the playoffs. We'll see you in Ottawa. All right. Go Sens go. There goes Nate DeOrdio coming in hot after a big win. 5-2, the final score. This guy's an absolute beauty. We need to get him to the CTC next.
Hey, how about sitting near Adam Gaudette's agent when he scores his 16th goal of the season? That guy's counting his paychecks.
He takes out his wallet. He's like, another
one. I love when agents, because they have so many clients in the league, right? When they probably just get a guy who pops off for goals like Adam Gaudette is, they just say it's found money. Like the Sens are saying with Adam Gaudette. Good standout, because I think he was great tonight. I think he got elevated a little bit, played with Timmy a bit more. They really put the lines in a blender in the second period when things weren't clicking totally well, and he scored some timely goals. Adam Gaudette has. That was a big one.
You thought there was a lot of Sens fans in Nashville tonight? Wait until Tampa tomorrow. We're gonna have Pilsy and Martian boots on the ground, and on Twitter, Martian said on his flight he saw a number of Sens jerseys, hats. Everybody is feeling it, and the Senators fans deserve that. After having the Leafs come into their barn and take over and leave with an L, the Senators need to get a little road vibe going here for these 2 games. And I'm sure I wasn't the only one, and obviously with a little baby at home, couldn't make it work this time. My parents will be there for me though in Tampa. But you see the schedule, and they've got 2 games in 3 nights in Tampa, of all places. Let's get down there, and I'm sure we'll see a very loud Senators army down there.
It was funny. I think Martian a couple weeks ago, but when he was just starting to play in the trip, was saying, why doesn't the NHL do this more, like back-to-backs in one city? And yeah, you want that because it's Florida, it's Tampa Bay in the middle of winter. It's freezing in Ottawa, in the Ottawa area. I don't know about Winnipeg, Ross. Is it middle of winter, -20 out there right now?
Right now we are sitting at -22. Yeah, it's chilly.
Not a bad road trip, though, for the Sens. Get out of the weather, get down to the nice sun. I bet a bunch of them aren't even coming home after the break, get to enjoy the sun even more. So listen, when they're playing hockey like this, by all means, soak in the sun, and they get a couple days in Tampa. Should be great.
So the Ottawa Senators get some scoring from an unexpected source tonight. David Perron scores the 4th goal of the game for the Senators, his 1st of the season. Let's give him a little love here, because he's been snake bit, to say the least.
Yeah, and honestly, it's been tough for David Perron, right? Missing that much time twice for 2 different things. And I'd imagine the first time it was obviously something you just, however long you need with your family, that's something that no questions asked, right? But then you come back for a little bit, then this injury happens, and he was out for a long, long time. So to see him get on the score sheet, but not even that, I think the last few games, Ross, he's been a bit more noticeable for me anyway. And he's just starting to get his legs back. This is not someone who could just hit the ground running here. He is a bit older, not trying to point out the age here, but at that age, missing that much time and hitting the ground running on a team that's just been firing on all cylinders for the most part this season. I've really started to notice him. I like his work along the boards the most. He's very hard to play against in that area. And I think that's what the Sens were looking for. You could see a lot of similarities in his game and Michael Amadio's game and Nick Cousins, even when he was healthy and playing. They all just battle along the boards and don't lose a lot of puck battles. But so really good to see him get a goal on a play that he actually got his first point on as well, when he slid it over Ridley Gregg against Washington.
Alex, just for you, buddy, I'm putting $13.99 on Travis Green to win the Jack Adams after reading this all caps message. Gotta stay hot and need Washington to lose some games. I have way too much money invested on Travis Green winning the Jack Adams. Obviously, the Sens aren't catching Washington. He means because Spencer Carberry is by far the front runner for the Jack Adams right now. But love the passion, Alex. Thank you for contributing to the show. Appreciate that so much. We're jumping all around the place today, but no, I'll say my stats department for the Sens Central standouts, but 5-2 the final score. And of course, of all the shots David Perron's taken this year, it goes off the Predators defenseman's helmet and in the back of the net. It was that kind of game. And look, we've spent way too long into this show already without talking about Jake Sanderson. So after a quick break, we're going to get to Jake Sanderson and more Sens Central standouts. Stay tuned. You're listening to Locked On Senators, your team every day. Welcome back to the Postcast. I'm Ross Levitan alongside Jack Richardson. You can follow us on social media in the comments below. Cam wants to mention Nicholas Matinpalo. He was awesome tonight. Guy has done everything they've asked and more. Go Sens, go. We'll get to our standouts, but I think Matinpalo, even if he's not a standout, does deserve a conversation. To me, it's the offensive instincts that are now showing in his game. We knew that he's big, rangy, can defend, can kill penalties when asked. But, dude, he had a couple pinches in there, too, tonight where he's extending offensive zone time, and Brady's looking for him off the rush. And he had a great opportunity there, too. So I've just loved what I've seen. You can tell that even though this is only, his 17th or 18th NHL game, you can tell he's played seasons of pro hockey in Europe. He just has that poise and consistency about him.
I feel like for European defensive defensemen, obviously not just looking at Artem Zub, who's also been outstanding for the Sens since he came over. I feel like defensive defensemen that come over, it's probably a bit of an easier adjustment for them just because it's a smaller rink, much easier to defend than that bigger ice overseas. But yeah, man, he's been a stud. The fact that they can just throw him on there and not worry about him. And I know that that's the bars on the floor when we're talking about that, but third pairing on the road, tougher matchups. You don't get to control that. He's been outstanding. And, big part of that also is Tyler Clevin, who's been also outstanding this season, been a solid third pair defense. Even stepped up when Thomas Chabot was down, when Sanderson was down. So that third pair has just been a very big bright spot. And listen, like Steve Stais, when he talked about internal growth and wanting to see what they have first before they go shopping around for any players, this is why, because you look at a guy like Nicholas Matinpalo and, a couple months ago, I wouldn't have even mentioned him as an option, and they bring him up and he's been outstanding. He's starting a conversation of, we can't take this guy out of the lineup, Ross, when the time comes.
8 shots on goal in the last 2 games for Nicholas Matinpalo. He had 5 in the last one, 3 more tonight. As Papa with Gaming points out, our good friend Justin, you're far too generous. We appreciate you, Justin. God bless Ottawa. Perron got a lucky goal, but without North and unhealthy players, the Sens' depth, we're convinced that we can answer the call. 35 pounds. He's talking about that silver trophy at the end of the line. We're obviously pretty far away from that, but when their top players are dominating games, that's the result. That's what you get. The Richard Sherman quote, eh? That's what you get. And the Ottawa Senators get a big win, 5-2 tonight. So Adam Gaudette has already been taken as a standout by our good friend Nate DeOrdio, Boots on the Ground report. I'm going to kick this one off, Jack. We can have a big conversation about the NHL's third star of the week, Jake Sanderson. He only played 2 games in the week because they count Monday to Sunday as their thing. I thought maybe that Utah game on Sunday would be in there. It's not. 2 games, 6 points. And what does Jake Sanderson do? He extends it to another week. Jake Sanderson was phenomenal in this game. The goal, that secondary angle they showed from basically like if you're Anton Forsberg, but zoomed in, the footwork and then the seeing eye wrister. What did you think about that goal and Jake Sanderson's play as a whole?
He's a freak. He's an absolute freak. I think that's the best way to describe him. He's good at everything. I think that's what the coaches say about him, what management says. Everyone. There's been a nice article actually that came out today, and I think that had to do with him being the NHL's third star. There's a bit of a feature on Jake Sanderson's kind of habits this season, his mentality, how he's kind of move on to the next day kind of thing. I know that right now, Jake Sanderson's on the plane to Tampa. He's already thinking about the next game. He's not thinking about tonight. He's not thinking about being the third star in the NHL. He's not thinking about possibly being on Team USA with Quinn Hughes' injury. Maybe touch on that a little bit later with the Four Nations, because how can you not consider Jake Sanderson as a replacement if that is a path that Team USA needs to take? I'm spitballing. He's been that good, Ross. He is, like, I'm putting him in the conversation now. I think he's been this team's best player overall this season. And I know that that's a tall order. Linus Ullmark for stretches has been great. Tim Stützle overall probably been the most consistent. But to me, I'm looking at the defensive game of this Ottawa Senators team and how that's evolved. Jake Sanderson's always been this good. I think he's starting to lead by example. They're starting to watch this guy play and say, we need to do that too if our best player, best defenseman is playing that way, blocking everything. But it's his zone exits too, to me. Like, we could talk about Jake Sanderson all night, and it's actually a shame that it took us 30 minutes to even talk about him tonight, because he's been that good, Ross. Like, it's really nice to see. I think there were some times in December when Zub was missing where you were maybe wanting a bit more from Jake Sanderson, not just offensively, even defensively. He was a little bit all over the place, but that's been corrected, and he's a treat to watch. He's one of those players where you're lucky that he's in a Senators jersey every night.
He is elite, and he showed that in 24 minutes and 50 seconds tonight. 3 shots on goal, 3 blocks, had a goal, obviously, and I thought he was skating tremendously well. It's not often that you're the best defenseman on the ice when Roman Yossi's in the game, but Jake Sanderson was that tonight. Like, the footwork, just watching the replay of that goal, just easily shake, shimmy. Then he's coming back on the line. Then he's doing a little crossover while he's going backwards and puts it right into the top end of the net. Jake Sanderson, my first Sens Central standout. You're up, Jack.
I'll just go with the guy who was picked 2 spots before him in that 2020 draft. I love thinking about the 2020 draft when the Sens play and all of those players are impact guys. Tim Stützle was a star again. We talked about him a little bit, how he was fighting it. Probably wasn't his best start to the game. But once they mixed up the lines, I thought he just became a gamer. And to me, I did touch on it earlier, but just the physical aspect of Tim Stützle's game, not even himself laying hits, but he has to fight through so much stuff as a number 1 center in the NHL. And it's only going to get worse. I bet you he's going to be playing against Point, Kucherov, and Gensel the next 2 games, every shift that they can, I'd imagine. And he's going to have that be up for that challenge, right? And I think he is, no questions asked. He just finds a way to kind of make plays happen. I think you could see a point in this game where he realized, I need to just use my speed. I need to start using my feet. And it's what led to the first goal. What more can you say about the German, especially like after that play with Ryan Hartman against the Wild, coming out and then getting all those points on the power play, just putting the game to bed, coming back out the next game. Like, this guy, he's a monster. Tim Stützle is a monster. He gets this narrative, like you mentioned, about being this soft player that, the diving and all of this, but he's an absolute gamer. I think not enough people give him credit for that. Kachuk gets all the headlines for all that, right? But Tim Stützle is just as responsible for this team's DNA as being hard to play against.
And I'm going to take another player who's hard to play against. Shane Pinto will be my next Sens Central standout. Was awesome. And they actually changed up the lines a little bit throughout the game. I thought it was great when they put him with Highmore and Batherson. Those 3 were awesome together. Shane Pinto gets a goal, so we got to give you the stat. The Sens are now 55, 11, and 6 all time when Shane Pinto records at least a point. And look at this season, Jack, 16, 1-0. Shane Pinto didn't only score tonight. He had 7 shots on goal in 17 minutes and 55 seconds, had a hit as well. He was he just adds that extra layer that this team needs. So what's more impressive to you, the all-time stat, or they've won 16 out of 17 games this year when he gets a point?
Yeah, I'm still thinking about this. Like, I think the one this season, to be honest, 1 loss is hard to beat. Like, if he's getting a point, this team's winning a hockey game is basically what you need to know. He's been great. He's really turned it around again after that slump he had. And it started actually in Carolina when he got off the schneid there. Funny, we had Nate on there who was at that game. But Pinto, with Norris down, who knows how long it'll be. Hopefully it's just for this week because of the break with Four Nations. Pinto's going to have to step up. Again, I keep mentioning tomorrow and Thursday, 2 massive, massive games. They need everyone clicking, and there's no reason to believe they won't. And he's a big part of that. He makes this team dangerous. That face-off play on his game winner, first of all, winning the draw, which he's awesome at, like most of the centers on this team. and just being in the right area, being responsible, he gets rewarded. Shane Pinto is that something in the water at North Dakota, Ross, that just makes people gamers.
He's just that, man. Great to see for Shane Pinto. And you could tell the boys were talking about doing something similar to that play. So Shane Pinto deservingly gets a standout in tonight's game. Jack, we can snap this back another time, I think. And you can go. And then if you want to go 3, like I'll go 3. Because if there's 3 of us, then that's just 2 each. Like there's another player I really want to highlight. So you give me yours and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of maybe off the board a little bit, but I am gonna go Drake Batherson.
Okay.
I thought that you mentioned him with Pinto and Highmore kind of moving, and I think that goal should have counted. We didn't really talk about it because we didn't need to. They ended up potting 4 or 5 anyway. I think Batherson had his feet moving. He was one of those guys, again, using his speed, using his size, which I think during his slump, especially towards the end of it, we didn't see a lot of that from Drake Batherson. And even when they turn the corner against the Leafs in Utah, I think Batherson was still fighting it a bit, but clearly that goal against the Wild on Saturday, even though it was a garbage time goal, didn't matter in the grand scheme of things, just poured it on Saturday night. I think it went to his confidence a little bit. He was moving tonight. I don't know if he got an assist on Pinto's goal. He was involved in it though. And he made the play to Shabbat, I think, then through the net, but I thought Batherson was all over it tonight. He, again, should have had that goal. And that's a guy, again, you need to step up in games like this when you are looking for something. I just thought he did a good job generating some momentum.
You know who stepped up tonight? My next standout, Ridley Gregg. Was asked to be the second line center, did that, scores the empty netter. This guy only scores emphatic empty net goals. He was just elite tonight. I felt like he drew a penalty, made sure that guy took a dumb penalty, and he was great. Dude, he had 2 defensive plays. One where he just tracked back and got a stick in there. The other one, there was a loose puck in the slot. He just goes, this is why he should be a centerman. And that's like Stützle, Norris, Pinto. Great. His speed is used so much better at center. He can fly.
Yeah, because he's not the biggest guy, right? And the way he plays is more suited to maybe being in the middle of the ice. And I like that you mentioned his stick. He's got a great defensive stick. Like I think that Greg, since his extension, I don't know what day that was, but early January, I think, and he's been really, really good since then. I know that that's not really great analysis there, eh, Jack? Just saying really, really good, but he's been all over it. And I think what was cool is after he signed it, he had that moment with Steos where he said, "Thanks for believing in me," which is a bit of a, usually the players will say thank you, whatever, but there's a nice little moment where you could see that how much this meant to him. And I think he's starting to play like that. Like a 4-year deal is a big commitment and he's starting to pay them back for it. And don't even talk about the cap going up. This guy's making $3 million for the next 5 seasons, essentially, including this one. Absolute steal.
Sens fans in Van chiming in saying, what about Greg is the quintessential word of the day? Senator. I'm singing all show today. It must be Music City. And by the way, Luke Bryan's overrated. He did the anthem, right? I just want to get that in there.
It was a slow one. I know we're talking Super Bowl bets with FanDuel. You could probably bet on the anthem length. I bet you Luke Bryan smashed the over if he was doing it. That was a long anthem.
He's no Alanis Morissette, I'll say that. But the Senators, when they did sign Ridley Gregg, said he is what we want Ottawa Senators to be. Versatile, hungry, tenacity, all those things. And the Ridley Gregg was all that tonight. So shout out Ridley Gregg for his performance in this one. You got one more? Give me the captain. Give me the captain. Brady
was a menace again. Like I think he's starting to move his legs a bit more again. And there's gonna be a lot of focus on Brady Tkachuk in the next few weeks. I am so excited to see him at this tournament. And I think he's starting to ramp up a little bit. Not saying he was taking nights off by any means, but you can see he's really starting to touch the puck a bit more, hold on to it in the corner. That's what he's going to do at this tournament. I cannot wait to see him for Team USA. Even if we aren't cheering for him, it'll be great to see the captain out there.
After his slump where he had 2 goals, no assists in 14 games, back-to-back multi-point games for the captain. He had a goal and an assist against Minnesota, 2 assists tonight for the Ottawa Senators. He leads by example. Great to see Brady Tkachuk and the Ottawa Senators top to bottom win tonight. Final thoughts, 5-2. Senators beat the Nashville Predators. Jack, what'd you like about this one? And what do you look forward to less than 24 hours to now against Tampa?
Linus Ullmark is back, folks. That's what I'm looking forward to. Anton Forsberg's really turned his game around. I think he deserves a little bit of a nod. Not a standout for sure, like stop the ones he had to. I don't think you can blame him on the 2 goals against, but he had that one nice breakaway save shorthanded in the second period, I believe. But Linus Ullmark is what I'm thinking of. That is a really, really impressive stretch. If you would have told me on December 22nd, when he went down with that back injury, that he was going to miss 19 games or 20, I guess, technically with tonight. And then B, the Sens would be where they are after all of it. I would have absolutely taken it and more. I would have laughed. So the fact that they're getting their star goalie, a guy who was playing as the best goalie in the NHL by the time when he got hurt, 8-0-1 in his last 9, looking to keep that going tomorrow night in a massive game against the Tampa Bay Lightning.
And we'll preview that game tomorrow on Locked On Senators. It was a great win tonight, though, where the Ottawa Senators pull 4 points up on the Tampa Bay Lightning. They're now in a great position in terms of the wild card. Like, Tampa's sitting on the outside of a playoff spot right now. Like, these games are just as big, if not bigger, for the Tampa Bay Lightning than they are for the Ottawa Senators. That's the position the Senators have put themselves in with their performance in tonight's game against the Nashville Predators and their performance overall during this win streak. And we've got a photo of the day, and I'm glad that we got a Sen Central standout for Brady Tkachuk, because our good friends over at USA Today have updated their library for tonight's game, and the captain was friggin' happy for his boy David Perron. I believe this is after Perron's goal.
That's great to see. And everything we hear, like how tight this team is, and I think the broadcast again was talking about it, just how much fun they're having. And like this group is like specifically Tkachuk, Stützle, Sanderson, all these guys deserve this so much, man. Like just as much as Sens fans, they've been grinding. They've changed their
Shabbat, dude. Shabbat came in. His first season was right after they went to Game 7. He's probably like, yo, I'm joining an amazing group.
And Shabbat's been here since the teardown. Tkachuk was the next guy in. He's been here since his rookie year. Like it's been a long road to games like this, which is why tomorrow and Thursday are going to be so much fun. I'm thinking of those games against the Red Wings 2 seasons ago, obviously both at home for the Sens. Similar thing. This is like a mini playoff series, Ross. Pretend this is game 1 and 2 in April on the road. See what they can do. You get a split, you're happy. That's the way I'm going to look at it. But the way they're playing, they can get 2.
Let's go. Another game day tomorrow. We got Locked On Senators for you. We're recording at 10 a.m. Eastern, so expect it for your lunchtime right around noon. For everyone in the chat, everyone who's so generous donating, it means so much to us. You guys keep this show alive. So too does the Glebe Central Pub. So can't wait to see everybody at the GCP on March 1st. The Senators are rolling right now, just 2 points back of the Toronto Maple Leafs for second in the division. Like, I can't believe those words are coming out of my mouth. The Leafs are in Calgary tomorrow night. Senators in Tampa Bay. We'll be tracking all the scores and letting you know the cheering guide and everything else on tomorrow's Locked On Senators. For Jack Richardson, I'm Ross Levitan. Let's get some GSGs in the chat. Hit that thumbs up. Let's make this our most liked video of all time. The vibes are absolutely off the charts. And how nice is it for Jack to get a big win? I know you were at the Leafs postcast, but you've covered some tough losses throughout this season and last, so we love seeing you get to smile and wax poetically about the Ottawa Senators. You didn't quite sing like I did on tonight's show. Maybe next time. Find out tomorrow.
If they get to 6 or 7 wins this week, who knows? Who knows? We'll be here for the postcast.
Yeah, find out tomorrow. Jack will be back with me tomorrow night. We will have all of your action plus a boots on the ground report from Martian and Pilsy. I'm sure that will be worth the price of admission. GSG's in the chat. For Jack Richardson, I'm Ross Levitan. This has been another edition of the Postcast presented by the Locked On Senators podcast and the Glebe Central Pub. Make sure to head to the Glebe Central Pub at 779 Bank Street. Let them know that Locked On Senators sent you. We're a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.